Hi, my name's Anthony. On today's video, we're going to be going over my top 5 recommendations for the Kingdom Death expansions. Now, Kingdom Death has a ton of expansions, which I absolutely love. However, going through these and picking only 5 was incredibly difficult. However, here's my criteria. Each recommendation has to cover a single node, which means I'm not going to duplicate any nodes. That way you can have a fully fleshed out upgrade path for your core game. Now, before we get started, if you don't already have the Gambler's Chest, that is my #1 recommendations. Yes, it is a bit pricey, but it's going to give you the most value for your money, especially during any type of sales. However, this list is going to be based not the Gambler's Chest and simply single expansions. In my #5 spot, we have the Frogdog. The Frogdog is a Node 1 quarry monster, which is going to be the monster that you're going to be playing with the absolute most, no matter when. Even if you do finish a campaign, the majority of the time you are going to be going back to that first node monster. Not only is the fight interesting with its AI cards and its new hit location of fart cards, but the items that you get actually go a lot further than you would think it would for a Node 1. And a lot of the armor pieces let you jump around just like the Frogdog for future fights, which makes it incredibly valuable for those tough to hit monsters. The value for your money is also pretty damn good because not only do you get a level 1, 2, and 3, but you get a level 4 Frogdog called the Bullfrog. Once you defeat the Bullfrog, it gives you an additional settlement location, which is the Tuskwork, which lets you build the Bullfrog armor, which is incredibly powerful. Number 4 on my recommended list is the Dung Beetle Knight. One of the reasons I chose the Dung Beetle Knight is because it is a Node 4 quarry monster. This means you're not going to need to replace anything, and it's actually going to add a lot more to your story. The Dung Beetle Knight is just a lowly beetle that ate the Phoenix's droppings and rapidly progressed into this big kind of creature kind of guy. Then, however, the Phoenix left and the Flower Knight came in and protected its food source, meaning that the Dung Beetle Knight had to learn how to fight so it didn't incur the wrath of the Guardians. The Dung Beetle Knight is an incredibly challenging fight, but is also a ton of fun. The way you have to control 2 different pieces is actually incredibly intuitive. Each piece does its own different thing, and it hits like a goddamn truck. The items they can get are pretty good in this, however, the fight itself is a lot more fun in my opinion. It also introduces calcification, which is a story event in which you can take some of the core items that have the mineral keyword and calcify them, essentially making them even better, which is really cool. The armor set also helps you getting knocked down instead of giving knockback, which is incredibly useful for future fights with any other type of monster or nemesis. It also has a very heartwarming and sad story with the old master. An old dung beetle that's asking his friend to kill him because he's losing his memory and his self. Number 3 on my list is the Red Witches. The Red Witches is a Node 2 Nemesis monster, and it has some of the best story events that I just love them. The Red Witches is a trio of witches that come during your settlement, and each time you fight them, you fight an additional one. When you first encounter the Red Witches, you'll be fighting Brawl, then Brawl and Nico, and then finally Brawl, Nico, and Seer. They also have their Red Cloak accolades, which helps them teleport around the map, which is really, really cool. The fight with the Red Witches can be complex, but it's incredibly rewarding, especially for those story events. And if you pair it with the Pariah expansion, you actually get a lot more for your value because you get additional story events, which is really, really cool. However, once you hit the level 3, those fights can take a little bit of time since you have to control 3 witches plus their accolades and then your miniatures, which can be a lot of headkeeping. However, the fight is incredibly fun and incredibly rewarding. Number 2 on my recommended list is the Dragon King. The Dragon King is one of the biggest miniatures that Kingdom Death has. The fight with it is absolutely phenomenal, and it is just explosions upon explosions upon explosions. It is absolutely wild. This fight is absolutely challenging, but it is a ton of fun. Not to mention the gear that you get is absolutely ridiculous, with my favorite weapon being in this expansion. You get a new mastery like the Scythe Mastery. The Dragon Armor is absolutely insane, letting you jump up in the air and attacking with a bunch of different bonuses. And then not to mention it does add an additional settlement story called the People of the Stars. This introduces another fight with the Tyrant, the human form of the Dragon King. In this, he teaches your settlement how to speak and how to write, how to essentially evolve. You get a new settlement location called Throne, which replaces your Lantern Horde, and new innovations and story events that replaces the ones from your core campaign. The fight with the Tyrant is also incredibly unique, with him teleporting and creating statues and just bouncing around and you just trying to keep up with him. It's really, really cool. And now my #1 recommendation for Kingdom Death Monster expansion is the Black Knight. Now I had my reservation putting the Black Knight in first place because he is a Nemesis 3, and with Nemesis monsters, you typically play with them less due to their nature. However, the Black Knight is so fantastic, it gives you so much cool stuff. not only do you get a brand new board, but you get whole different mechanics on how to play with that board, and every time you play with it is completely different. You start off with all of the tiles except for your starting tiles face down, but jumbled up, and when you flip them face up, it is a brand new terrain every single time. The way you have to watch out for bouncing around and off of the cliff is absolutely fantastic, and the fight with the Black Knight is incredibly fun, with it having a combination of a lot of hidden elements hidden within. The weapons you get for this is also incredibly insane, such as the Iron Hand, the Black Knight's sword. The story events in this are also really cool, with new fighting arts being completely over the top, and the Squire campaign, which makes it all. The Squire campaign is a 5-year campaign dedicated to pre-built characters that goes through a 5-year mini campaign ending with the Black Knight. This gives off a fantastic jumping off point for new players and for veterans. It is incredibly fun and adds so much depth to the Black Knight. It is absolutely awesome. It is definitely my number 1 pick. Now, I do want to give honorable mentions to 3 other monsters, which actually make up my favorite campaign setup. For Quarry 1, we have the Crimson Crocodile, which you do need the Gambler's Chest from, which is why I recommend it. Crimson Crocodile is my absolute favorite anything in this entire game. Crimson Crocodile to die. For Quarry Node 2, we have Spidicules? I don't know how to pronounce it. While it's not everybody's favorite, the model itself sold me, and the fight is actually a ton of fun, in my opinion. I honestly prefer it over the Screaming Antelope. Quarry Node 3, Dragon, of course, and then Quarry Node 4, of course, the Dung Beetle Knight. And then for Nemesis 1, we have the Pariah. I mentioned the Pariah before, but it came out around the same time as the Red Witches, and it is absolutely fantastic. The only reason why I didn't put it in my top 5 is because I believe that the Red Witches is better than the Pariah. However, the Pariah, if you can, is absolutely fantastic as well. And then of course as a Node 2, the Red Witches, and finally as a Node 3, the Black Knight. But thank you guys for watching. This is all opinion based on my personal preferences. However, let me know what your personal favorites are, and I'd love to check them out. But thank you guys so much for watching.